Yes, please. Good evening, gentlemen. We'll be starting the program in about 10 minutes. I hope you guys grab your dinner. And if you've received your ballots, please keep it with you until we proceed to the election process. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. We'll be beginning today's program. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed your dinner. It's that important night of the year again that we have come together for our Chambers elections. I'd like to begin this evening's function by calling on my fellow director, Mr. Paul Vanjani, for the invocation to be followed by the national anthem. Thank you.
Respected elders, dear friends, good evening. Let us bow our heads as we put ourselves in the presence of Almighty. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, as we gather together today as brothers and sisters of the community, we open our hearts and give thanks to all the blessing that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you for the blessing of friends and family in our midst, for the food you put on our tables, and for the comforts you have provided us. We thank you for the guidance given to our present board and its supports of members during the past 2 years, for fulfilling our missions and good work for the community and country. Tonight, we give special thanks to the members who have come forward with their desire to serve, as we ask for our guidance in the formation of a new board through our election process, so we may have officers to carry on the torch of organization. We pray that you will be with us as we start new journey for 2018 for the years to come. We humbly pray in your name. Amen. Thank you. Please we stand for the national anthem.
I would like to call on our Corporate Secretary, Mr. Ravi Samtani, for the certification of quorum. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As of exactly 8 p.m. this evening, we have 90 companies represented in person here tonight. This number will still increase as we haven't counted those that came in after 8 p.m. We are holding 26 proxies for a total of 116. We have a total number of active members of 173, and we have 10 honorary members and past residents for a total of 183. The required quorum number is 93. And since we have 116, I'm pleased to declare that we do have a quorum. Good evening.
And I'll call on our President, Mr. Rex Darianani, to call the meeting in order as well as give his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Good evening. It is with great honor and pleasure that I call this annual meeting to order. Welcome everybody. So, no prepared speeches this time. I figured we're all among friends and this is an evening for us to really enjoy each other's company. I don't wish to bore you, and at the end we'd like to all speak from our hearts. So, in the interest of time, I will deliver what I'm supposed to, my President's address, later. We have changed the format of this annual meeting where we are going to be having our elections ahead of the annual meeting. That way to save time, and hopefully by the time the annual meeting is over, we would have the results of the elections ready. So sit back, enjoy this evening, and at this point, I would also like to thank the members of the COMELEC, Hardy, Gautam, Ramesh. Thank you very much for your service to our chamber. So enjoy the evening, and I'll check back with you in a little bit. Good evening.
I'd now like to request Mr. Cardi from the COMELEC committee to come on stage.
Thanks, Raj. Dear members, past presidents, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening to all of you. Once again, COMELEC has a very important task to perform, which shapes the destiny of our chamber for the next 2 years, and that is elections. Before we proceed to our election process, please let me introduce to you the COMELEC team. Me as the chair, COMELEC. I have Mr. Ramesh Puri and Mr. Gautam Dadlani as the team member. And beside the COMELEC, we have 6 COMELEC deputies who are here to assist the whole process. Those are Raj Balani, Deepak Krishnani, Paul Vanjani, Lachu Tailiani, Harish Sagwani, and there's one more, probably I'm still waiting for him. We want to make a few more important announcements before we proceed to our election process. Though we have sent you those announcements which I will announce by circulars in the past. As of now, we have 13 13 qualified candidates which are in the list. May I request Secretariat to please put the list on the... These are the ones as of now which are qualified, and they were filed their nominations in the past. And as per bylaws, we need 40 qualified candidates to close the nominations. So in a while, we'll be opening nominations on the floor. If anyone who is still interested to file, I hope he can get his nomination form from the COMELEC and can be ready, because the nomination of form will be open for a very limited period. Also, we have put copy of rules and regulations on each table. I hope that if you have time, you can go through it for your guidance. The few more reminders: if you are casting your ballot, there are some rules and regulations. Please follow those rules and regulations to avoid your ballot not to become invalid. So we have 13 qualified members. So now I will call on Mr. Ramesh Puri, my colleague, COMELEC member, to go to the next process of elections. I give floor to him.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Cardi. You may not know it, but it's the first time I've worked under Cardi, and he is very, very meticulous, gets everything down to the detail. Anyway, on behalf of the COMELEC, we're pleased to announce the nominations. We're opening it up for nominations, as Cardi explained. We're only 13, we were at 14, we could have closed it. So, nominations are now open. You may want to get the forms from the COMELEC and please fill it up.
Forms are here. Table one.
On table 1. And shall we give ourselves 5 minutes to decide if the nominees, if there are any new nominees? Is that okay, or would you want to proceed further? Are there any nominees that would like to come in? Anybody would like to nominate anybody? We have plans of giving 5 minutes, but if you wish, we can proceed. Okay, so let's give 5 minutes grace. Thank you very much. Michael Money. Okay.
And at present, we are serving liquor already. So I think you people may have overlooked that aspect because I feel we might be swayed into voting people that are probably not deserving to be elected.
We discussed it, and I remember the last time it was a ban, and we felt that everybody is responsible enough to decide, even if we had alcohol. We never had experienced any intoxications that could deter your decisions on whom you want to vote. So we talked about it and we waived it.
I respect your opinion, but
Yeah.
I think it is not a normal practice. There is a liquor ban in every election. So we are the only ones that do things differently. So I would want my objection to be noted. And please, in the next elections, please correct yourselves.
Fine. Duly noted. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ramesh, can I be recognized,
Yes.
please?
While I respect the opinion of the gentleman, I understand that to mean that none of us here are responsible adults to even be able to decide our own behavior. And so therefore, as your president, so that we can get the rules correct once and for all, let's put it to a vote and let's make a decision if this indeed should be a process that should be followed in the future. So how many of you here think today that in all future elections, and even now, we can suspend alcohol? How many of you here feel today that none of us are mature enough to be making these decisions? Please stand and let's put it to a vote. Any? Is there anybody here that feels that alcohol service should be suspended and in the future there should be no alcohol during elections? Please stand. We're putting this to a vote. Sit down. Okay, so we have one person. Vote is carried. We will proceed with the alcohol. Thank you very much.
There will be no nominees. Let me pass the.
Again, I would like to make a point. I just want to clarify. Rex Asendas is no longer in control of the meeting as per, when he turned over the meeting to you already. So that is again a procedural lapse. Okay? So please, again, the COMELEC, you are now in control of this entire event, since you are already going to hold an election. So he cannot come over here and preside and call for a vote and ask everyone to vote on an issue where he claims to be still the president. It is already supposed to be presided by the COMELEC. Okay, so I'm just making that point, okay? I don't want to stop anything. You can serve all the liquor you want. Again, I'm just making my point that we are a different bunch of guys. And we have to respect that, no problem.
Well, you know,
I'm okay with that. But again, I'm objecting, let it be noted.
Bebo, as you mentioned, it is a COMELEC that you directly discuss with you. Let me just say one word, please. Very specifically, I mentioned after answering your question, we discussed it, we felt we were all adult enough, we felt that we won't be intoxicated by drinking, so I answered that question directly from the COMELEC. Beyond that, we can't do any more better than that. Thank you. And duly noted.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Albert Cruchan. I'm a lawyer and I'm the legal counsel for the chamber. This is a point of the rule regarding liquor bans that apply to national elections do not necessarily apply to this chamber. Okay? And as far as the rules of the chamber and the COMELEC are concerned, I don't think there's any rule against the serving of liquor. So in the absence of a rule, the rules that govern national elections have no bearing in these proceedings.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Let us proceed. Let me call Mr. Gautam Dadlani for the next part of our elections. Thank you.
Candidates, I hope you're all sober. Very, very sober. Okay. So, this is where I'm going to request each candidate who will be running tonight to come up and give a short introduction. Short means a maximum of 2 minutes, and hopefully to save time and to make sure everybody goes home on time. We keep it within that limit. And we'll start in alphabetical order, okay? And all the other candidates will have to go to the booth outside, pay 500 pesos for the noise cancelling headphones. Just kidding. You all have to step outside while one by one the candidates speak. So first in line, we would like to call Mr. Rex Dariani and ask all the remaining 14 to kindly, just for protocol, stand outside.
Good evening again, everybody. For the record, I'm drinking water. What do you want me to say? Actually, I really didn't have intentions of taking or going for a second term. But there was one thing that we were not able to do. And the one thing was really come up with a proper succession plan. And with the work that has happened, it's really crucial that a proper succession plan is in place. We have a lot to look forward to. The trip that we just took to India has underscored that. The great relationship we have with the Philippine government underscores that. And so, I found it in myself and on the request of certain people to do take a second term with the hope of being able to mentor the next set of leaders. So, if you want things to be done differently, if you want things to be done out of the box, if you want things to be done the way it should be and in consideration of the future, then please. However, if you want things to be done based on how it was done maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, then rethink. So once again, at your service, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great 2 years. Thank you very much.
Sorry? That's your decision.
With 30 seconds to spare. Okay.
Excuse me, Comelec.
Yes.
May I just suggest something, no? Because aside from an introduction, there's been a lot of generalities, no, that has been mentioned. Since Mr. Daryanani has already signified his intention to run for president, what we want is his vision. We want to know how he will be running this chamber. What he mentioned now was just a very general term. There's no specifics. So, since you have signified your intention to run for president, I think it's just right that you give us something concrete. You can't just say that you haven't been able to plan for succession. We would want to know what will happen. But what is your vision for the chamber?
I would suggest,
Yes.
in respect of all the other candidates
Yes.
that have a lot of time, we have allowed them 2 minutes to say what they would like. If you have specific questions, I'm sure there is more than ample opportunity for you to discuss that.
No specifics. Because what I want to do, I want to come up with an informed decision. So definitely, if I do vote for him, what will happen, or whoever will be coming, since he has signified the majority of the people here are re-electionists. He has built his team already. You know naman how this thing goes. We were not born yesterday. So what we want, we know that he's going to get it. He's going to be our next president. So, Rex, please, we want vision. We want to know where you're taking the chamber. With reference to 30 years ago, whoever were elected after definitely provided a difference already. So what we want to know is, because his 2 years, as far as the general membership is concerned, the number of meetings we've had, the knowledge that he has imparted, I mean, as far as the group is concerned, it's really nothing much to talk of, diba? In comparison to other terms that have been there.
So, with all due respect,
Yes.
I think we can take this up, and I'm sure Rex is ready to jump
Yes.
on this podium and answer your questions.
Yes.
But let's do it at the proper time. This is the election proceedings. Let's respect that. Let's have everybody have their chance, have their 2 minutes, and afterwards, I'm sure you've taken note of these questions, and there will be ample opportunity to
I need 10 seconds to answer.
Thanks.
No, wait. I just want to make it clear to everyone, because it really is different when he promises and tells everyone here what his vision is. So then, we could compel him to follow the same. Unlike when we elect him, there's no promise at all. We've seen how people have not acted. So please, Rex.
I suggest you let the candidate.
Yes, of course.
Please, yes.
No, excuse me. Wait. While we have turned over to the Comelec, I will answer his question by simply saying that I have already said what I wish to say. And I will leave it to the intelligence and the wisdom of the general membership. Now please, Mr. Megrajani, please, may I appeal to you to allow the Comelec to continue its good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, I would request that the Comelec not be interrupted during the election proceedings. There is ample time afterwards to ask whatever questions you'd like to have. This is an opportunity for the candidates to discuss what they feel is relevant. And if you feel something has not been taken up, then you may take it up with them on a personal basis to save everybody's time. And also, it's a good way to understand what they really are about. So let them have their 2 minutes, and it's everybody's choice to vote who they want to. Sorry, I'm just going.
Second. This one.
Excuse me.
There's a list again. Oh yeah, the candidate, if you have the list again. Okay. Second one, this one. Okay, all right.
Okay, Amar Daswani, you have 2 minutes.
Thanks, Gautam. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to address you today, especially today, the auspicious time of the lunar eclipse, which is happening, by the way, at some right now. My name is Amar Daswani, and I'm running to be a director here. Here's a bit about myself. After my education in the US, for the last 15 years, I've been working with my family business, which is into garment manufacturing and property development, where I've been handling operations mainly. I've also been part of other boards with condominium associations, as well as the FICCI itself. During the recent ASEAN Summit, I was inspired hearing from Mr. Joey Concepcion, actually, about the need for inclusive growth, so that prosperity is experienced by more. Later, Mr. George Barcelon wisely said that as we strive for the success for inclusive growth, he said that let us not forget our own personal happiness. This is exactly my passion as a volunteer, a teacher, and a director of the Art of Living Foundation in the Philippines, which I've been involved with for the past 10 years. We educate and empower people of all sorts, all sectors of society, from government and business leaders to laborers, about breathing techniques and meditation to remove stress and negative emotions so people are more uplifted in their lives. When people are peaceful, they naturally want to be of service to their community, and this is what leads to inclusive development and more happiness. So these are the passions I wish to help to put in being a director for the FICCI. Thank you so much for your time and more power.
Thank you. By the way, I think I failed to mention, those that have already spoken can stay. And next we have Mr. Itani. Yes.
Good evening, everyone. You guys rarely see me, but I know about a lot of things happening in the chamber. I'm actually trying to be a part of it because I want to change a lot of things. I think we all saw what just happened, right? We should respect everyone's opinion. Given. Now, everybody should also be questioned given the right time, and I don't think today is the right time. There's a question and answer portion for everything. Now, I'm only here to try and make things a little better and here to serve everyone else. You're our bosses, we're here to serve you. Tell us what you want, we'll do it that way. Thank you.
Okay. Next we have Mr. Milo Jamaji.
Good evening, everybody. Excuse my voice, I've just recovered from a bad flu. Well, my name is Minu Chamaji. I am the chairman of RM Samurai Incorporation. I already served as one of the board of directors in the past and was in charge of the trade committee. I am a civil engineer by profession. I specialize in construction, real estate. I have spent most of my life in Dubai, where I have almost there for 25 years. In Dubai also, I have served in various chambers on the board and was very active there. Well, I would like to serve one more term, so at least I can finish what I started with. There are a lot of opportunities that we can explore for our chamber, especially with other countries as with India, and many countries are signing treaty and ASEAN trade treaties, so we have a lot of opportunities where we can do cross-trade. The Indian community in Philippines are amazing people. I've made such wonderful friends, very modest, very accommodating, and this is one of the best Indian groups I've ever seen in the whole world. So I'm really, all the more I would like to serve this community, and I would like to work with honesty, transparency, and thank you very much. God bless our chamber.
Next, we'd like to call on Mr. Kamesh Ken Jeswani.
Good evening, fellow members. I'd like to introduce myself as Kamo or Ken Jeswani of CANS International. For those of you who may not know, I'm the son of Tamadas Jeswani, and we have been a long-standing member of this chamber. Our company has been in existence for over 40 years, which is also the amount of time I have been in the business. And we have been exporting garments for 35 of those years. Since it was quite time intensive, I could never volunteer to serve the community. However, since the last few years, I got out of that business, and therefore I found myself available to serve the community in my own small way. Our board, led by Rex Dayanani, has made a lot of changes to the way our chamber has been perceived, and thankfully, due to his able direction and hard work within these past 2 years, we have achieved dramatic improvement in our organization, which I am sure you all have seen and felt. I've been asked to stay on for another term until we can get our new younger directors up to speed with how to continue this smooth and professionally run chamber to the benefit of our whole community. Thank you all in advance for your vote should you decide to favor me with it. Good night.
Next, we'd like to call on Mr. Manish Mehta.
Very good evening, President Rex and the current board, past presidents, COMELEC Chair and the COMELEC, and esteemed members of the community. My name is Manish Mehta. I've lived in the Philippines for 25 years, and I've worked and I serve as a director and a stockholder in Sprint International Incorporated. I'm married with 3 children. I've been married for 14 years. The reason I have put forward my candidacy is a simple one. I have decided that I'd like to serve the business community and the community in general. As you all have observed, President Rex and his board have taken our FICCI chamber to unprecedented levels, inspired by the work of our past presidents. And I feel that under this administration, President Rex, the board, and the newly elected members of the board today can truly make a difference. And this is the precise reason why I decided to put forward my candidacy, for which I'd like to thank the COMELEC and the Chamber for giving me the opportunity. Good evening.
Next, we have Mr. Jeevan Manjani. If the meeting started late, it's because he made sure the food was so good that everybody was still busy eating outside.
Hi, good evening. If you don't know me, my name is Jeevan Manjani. Served the current board for about 2 years, and I handle your events, your food and drinks. So any complaints, please give them to me. It's been a privilege working with the current board. I joined for the experience, and I enjoyed it, and I hope other members will also join up as well. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Mr. Ricky Mirani.
Good evening, gentlemen. So this is my first chamber meeting. It's nice to see that I have a little fan club over here. My name is Ricky Mirani, better known as Naresh Mirani's son. I'm currently 29 years old. So I graduated school in Boston, Massachusetts. I'm back in the Philippines running an FMCG company. So why am I running for the chamber? I was actually having a chat with Rex Tarinani a few months ago, and he said that we need to bring some young blood, which I think I can do, and make some of the meetings more exciting and bridge the younger and the older community and generation, not that any of you look old, for the coming years. So I look forward to serving you guys, and for some of you here, I am not an alcoholic, don't worry, I have big sound saying decisions. Thank you.
We'd like to call on Mr. Haresh Nirpuri.
Good evening. For those who don't know me, I'm Haresh Nirpuri, the oldest son of Dulu and Tribu Nirpuri. Born in Manila, I took up my elementary and high school in Don Bosco, Makati, before proceeding to De La Salle University for college. I served about 30 years ago under past President Uncle Hiro Asendas as his treasurer, 20 years ago under past President, the late Gurmukh Nirpuri, as his corporate secretary, and I am with the current board as treasurer. I'd like to request for your support for my second and last term. Thank you.
Our next candidate is not present. I believe he's out of the country, but he sent a video which he's requesting we watch.
Hi everyone, very sorry that I'm unable to.
Up here? Yeah? Where?
Those of you that don't know me, my name is Ravi Samtani. I am the incumbent corporate secretary of the chamber. As corporate secretary, I am responsible for formulating the agenda for the monthly board meetings. I also see to it that whatever is discussed during the meetings is well documented through minutes. and the appropriate board resolutions are issued. This past 2 years have been whirlwind. So much has happened in such a short time, and it has taken, I've devoted so much time to the chamber. And frankly, I wasn't planning to run for another term, given that I also have my hands full at work, and I also have to take care of my elderly father. But given projects that we have started in the chamber, like the MOUs that we have signed with the Thai and the Indian and Russian chambers of commerce, I would like to create a database for those of you who want your companies to be listed in that database, so that there can be an exchange of information between our chamber and theirs, so that there can be potential for those of you who want to import from these members of these partner chambers, or if you want to export to them. So this is something that I want to see through. I'm also, as corporate secretary, I'm also oversee the operations of the secretariat. As you know, last year we hired our amazing executive director, Ms. Elagan, and her administrative assistant, Ms. Zara Corrales. And together with Ms. Ella Martera, they make up the secretariat office. So we've streamlined and we've overhauled the systems, and we hope to make further changes for the betterment of the chamber. I'd like to declare that, although one of the amendments that are being proposed is to increase the maximum number of terms that the director can run three terms, I would like to declare that I don't have no intention of running a third time. So, with your support, I'll do my best for this coming term. Thank you very much.
Next, we have Mr. Japjit Sokti.
Hi, good evening. Namaste. I want to thank the board for offering alcohol today. It's given me some courage to come and speak here. So thank you for that. I was thanking the board for serving alcohol today because I was nervous and the alcohol helped me come and speak on the stage. So thank you for that.
As long as you're sober, huh?
Yeah, I'm speaking. Yeah. So if I remember, sale of alcohol is banned, consumption of alcohol is not banned during elections, which is fine. I don't have a legacy like most of the candidates today. I don't belong to a community who's been here for 30 years. I have nobody from my past family who's been a part of the Indian Chamber in the Philippines. I don't belong to a family business sector. The reason I agreed to be a part of the board is because I bring a fresh perspective, I think, to the chamber, because I come from the IT sector, enabled services, and I come with no tunnel vision of what people may have experienced of the board in the past. I've been a part of the board for the last 2 years, and I have thoroughly enjoyed myself. Privileged to be an Indian business in the Philippines, the kind of mileage I received through the FICCI, and I think I would like to give back to the board by being a more supportive member and if elected, to be a part of the board and serve the community and help people experience what I experienced in the last 2 years being part of this chamber. So thank you so much and have a good evening.
And our last candidate for this evening is Mr. Manesh Sujani.
Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow members, good evening. It is truly humbling to be in front of you tonight. I believe it to be a great honor for one to have the opportunity to serve our community and our chamber. My grandfather, Lokan Hemana, was one of the founding members of the Indian Chamber back in 1951. Since then, I sought to carry my grandfather's legacy forward into the next generation, attending several of the general membership meetings, seminars, and events throughout the years has allowed me to grow, meet many of you, and personalities of our business and social community. Today, I am part of Gen Farm Incorporated, a family business with my father, Prem Hemanas, that for nearly 30 years has been promoting trade with India and the Philippines, helping making affordable medicines available to all Filipino people. We are now on the precipice of change. President Rex and his predecessors have paved the way for the next generation of members. I stand here knowing that my story is part of a larger narrative, that I owe debt to all of those who came before me. A special mention goes to President Rex and the work he and his board have done over the past 2 years. History will look back on a remarkable man who has done remarkable things for this chamber. For that, I would be grateful to be given a chance to be mentored and serve alongside his board and bring the objectives of our chamber forward into the next 2 years. There are first steps to be taken, new ground to cover, and bridges to be crossed. For those who don't know me, my name is Dinesh Emandas Sujanani, and I'd like to serve you on our chamber. Thank you. Maraming salamat.
And with that, I'd like to call on Mr. Ramesh to continue the program.
As the saying goes, let the voting begin. Past presidents and honorary members, may we request, please, will you start the voting? You could take any of those tables over there. Could we call the past presidents, please? All the past presidents. Bishop, Uncle Hero, Uncle Nari, who else do we have? Uncle Sundar, and who else do we have here? And honorary guests, honorary members, please. I will presume you have your ballots with you, because as you walk in, you got the ballots. But if you don't have your ballot, you may claim it from the secretariat. But could we start the voting with the ex-presidents and the honorary members, please? After which, as you see the tables being emptied in, please could you all vote in? As you see the line getting shorter and shorter. The rules are on the table, and please vote 11, and you notice there are 2 Mirpuris, so you have to be specific which Mirpuri you want to vote for. Sure, you can vote on the table. You can vote on the table. No, there is no list outside. The list is on the board right now.
have to sign there.
No need.
Huh?
No, you don't need company. No,
You don't need?
keep you.
Oh, you want to give that to him?
No, it goes back to the box. So you put your company name better. Put your company name.
Are you coming or no? You make up your mind.
Put company name. What are you doing?
What kind of liquid are you, you know?
You better make good to me.
You want to fight? Tell me. You
No, this one comes to you.
sign.
You don't need to sign. That we can check. Yeah. The board is here, then your name is there. We're gonna vote too.
Ramesh. You rip your own bottom out. Rip your own. Where you rip the bottom? The dotted line? Yeah.
Someone from Lake wants to sign on it. No, it's already signed. Okay.
No, you just pen it by hand. If you put your vote, you put your vote. Say I put.
We have already submitted our President's report, consisting of 15 pages. It's on your table. For those that want to know more about vision, I refer you to the 15-page President's report. I feel the accomplishments of the board would clearly illustrate what the vision would be of any future board. So please refer. I would like to take this opportunity and this time to thank all of you in the general membership for your overwhelming support in the last 2 years. Any person that is serving this chamber is not going to be able to serve with a full heart, mind, and soul without this kind of support that you have extended. And for which, on behalf of the board of directors, I would really like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. In the last 2 years, we have first focused on re-establishing ties with the different government offices. I'm pleased to report that we have successfully been able to do that. We define membership in the chamber as not only for being or to having meetings and guest speakers, but more so, we feel that a chamber should be one that should be able to respond to the needs of the membership. That has to be the primary objective of any board that sits and serves. We are pleased to let you know that we have handled several SOS calls, if I'm not mistaken, 6 urgent SOS calls from our members, where we have been able to connect them with high enough government officials at secretary level to help them solve their problems. And to me, that is really valued. Today, being in business, we encounter all sorts of challenges. And it is comforting to know, in my very humble opinion, that there is a chamber that I can run to help me. And so I appeal to the membership to re-examine really what the expectations are for our chamber and where we should put more value. I do not discount the importance of having regular general membership meetings, as they are urgent. But regular general meetings, listening to a speaker, in my humble opinion, does not define the success of a chamber. So once again, no words are enough to express my deepest gratitude to all of you. The support you have extended is one that even we did not expect. Allow me now, please, to recognize the members of the Board of Directors who have made the last 2 years possible. Ella, is Ella here? Could you please join me in a round of applause for the members of the board? I will be calling them up one by one and giving them a token of the members' appreciation. May I call on Mr. Lakshman Lal Chatlani, our mentor and Vice President of Internal Affairs in the board. The guy who admittedly tried his best and failed to make my life miserable. Mr. Prashant, please call him Prashant from now on, Raj Advani. What an amazing man. The eagle eye of the board of directors. This was the guy who checked every single document that went out, made sure it was correct, and worked tirelessly to make sure that you got served properly. Our dear Corporate Secretary, Mr. Ravi Samtan. Our chairman of the Committee on Trade, who worked tirelessly in ensuring that all inquiries from abroad reached your inboxes, and worked tirelessly on the many meetings that were trade-related, dear Minu Jamaji. The money guy, our dear treasurer who made sure that all expenses were in check, Mr. Haresh Mirpuri. If you have alcohol tonight, it's this guy's fault. Our chair of the Committee on Programs, who made sure that we upgraded ourselves from Johnny Walker Black to single malt, Mr. Jiva Manjani. the gentleman who made sure that our CSR projects were run well, our many advocacies done properly, Director Kamlesh Ken Jeswan. To another amazing director who was extremely supportive, Director Paul Vanjani. Paul, come on up, boss. That we hardly spent on our board meetings, because he got a lot of our board meetings sponsored in the different hotels. Unfortunately, he's not here. Director Arjun Shroff, may I call on his wonderful daughter to receive this on his behalf.
31 now. Just one.
Once again, all reports have been given.
29.
Rex has just given plaques of appreciation to all his board of directors, but I think he deserves the biggest.
Rakesh Rex Dhererani, for those who think that he worked hard to bring our chamber to greater heights, can you please stand up and give him a round of applause? A big standing ovation for Rex Dhererani. A wonderful job, working very hard, sacrificing family time, work time, very sad. More power to you, Rex. Keep up the good job.
Our treasurer for the treasurer's report.
Good evening once again. The treasurer's report has been distributed and placed on top of your tables. I hope they are clear enough and there are no further queries allowed. Thank you very much.
All being presented, I call back President Rex for the ratification of the acts of this board.
We are now entertaining a motion for the ratification of all actions of the board. Any motions?
I move for the ratification.
Second the motion.
Duly moved and seconded. Thank you.
Second.
We have also submitted to you the minutes of the previous meeting. We are now entertaining a motion for the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Any motion? Move.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. We now move to the ratification and approval of the proposed amendments. Among the amendments that the Board of Directors has approved and submitted to you for ratification, we have identified two major amendments that at this point we would like to carve out and set it aside so it can be discussed separately. We would like to carve out the amendment that refers to the extending of the term limits from 2 terms to 3 years. Sorry, 2 terms to 3 terms of 2 years each. And we would like to carve out the amendment that speak on honorary membership. We will discuss this in a little while. At this point, we would like to entertain a motion for the approval of the remaining proposed amendments that have not been carved out.
I move.
I think there's someone. Hiren, would you like to?
Second. Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Sure, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I believe the amendments clause in the bylaws require deliberations before the voting. So how do we intend to do that?
Can you cite the amendment, please? Sorry, can you cite the provision?
Yes. Chairman, Article 11 Amendment, Section 1. This bylaw is being amended or repealed by the majority vote of the total members of the Federation in a regular or special meeting called for the purpose, and by a majority vote of the Board of Directors, provided, however, that the proposed amendments are circularized to all members at least 30 days prior to the meeting, and all members are given the opportunity to deliberate on the said proposed amendments.
Mr. Hiren, the Chair just advised that we have carved out the two that we refer to as major. We have also asked the members if there is anything else in the proposed amendments that we would like to carve out. So we're clearly opening up the floor to deliberation. So would you like to point out any particular provision that you would like to carve out?
Yes, Mr. Chair. May I be able to do that at this point?
Please.
Yeah. So amendment number 3, sorry. Will I give you the amendment number or? Yeah. Sorry, give me a second. I apologize. Amendment number 3 is already carved out, which is honorary membership, right?
3 and 11 have already been carved out.
Yeah. So I would add amendment number 27 on the reduction of the general membership duties. And amendment number 31 on the removal of the meeting with the council staff presidents.
Okay, 27 and 31 carved out. Any other, sir?
No, thank you.
So far we have 3, 11, 27, and 31. In the absence of any, is there anything else that would like to be carved out at this point? Seeing none, we are entertaining a motion for the approval of the remainder of the proposed amendments. There's a move by Past President Mr. Hero and seconded by Past President Pishu and Mr. Naresh. Thank you very much. We would like now to address amendment number 3. Okay. This refers to honorary membership. When these provisions were added into our bylaws several years ago, it called for the granting of honorary membership to 2 types of members. One was to a past president, and second, to a member who has been an authorized representative continuously for 30 years. We have no objection to the granting of such honorary membership to somebody that has been with us for 30 years. But when this amendment was put into place, we failed to set up a mechanism to determine whether or not this person has indeed been an authorized representative for 30 years. We encountered 2 cases during our incumbency, and we found it very terrible for future boards to now go and question a person applying for honorary membership and tell this person, you need to prove that you were an authorized representative for 30 years. The chamber does not have the complete records to make that determination. I am sure none of us in our companies keep records for 30 years as to whether or not and how long we were authorized representatives. This is a matter that will create enmity between future boards and members. In the absence of a mechanism by which this can be ascertained, the board deliberated and found it best to propose the deletion of this clause. The second concern, as of now we have very few. As we move on to the next 10 years, more and more people are going to ask to be accepted as honorary members. Take note that once you become an honorary member, there are no dues that are charged. So regular members will collectively subsidize this cost. We have no other idea that we could propose, and this is why we have opened it up to you to make that decision. If you wish to retain this clause as is, we have no objection. But it's important for the membership to propose a workable mechanism by which continuous authorized representation can be proven. Floor is open.
Good evening. Good evening, sir. Let me understand this honorary membership first. I failed to understand it correctly. So just correct if I am wrong. When you say honorary membership, you are giving this is a privilege given to a member who has worked tirelessly with the chamber, actively behind the scenes, currently and going on. And that particular person deserves that honorary membership because of his active participation. Maybe we have rewards, we don't have rewards, but we can see that person who has really worked. So in that case, I don't know if records are really necessary. And if necessary, then of course, I have no objections. But I feel a person who has dedicated himself in working for the chamber, for the community, that honorary membership should not be taken away. That's my point. Thank you.
Just to clarify, sir, this is given not necessarily to somebody who has been working, but this is given to any member. Any member, whether you have been on the board or not, it doesn't matter. So anyone, based on the current bylaws, once you have been an authorized representative continuously for 30 years, which means if you made your son the alternate representative for a year, and you again became authorized, then you're no longer qualified. So it is a provision, while very well meant, and personally I agree that it should be there, there is a complete absence of a mechanism to determine this. So we have presented it to you, and we have recommended the deletion, because we cannot seem to find and think of a mechanism by which to continue making this work. And we also feel that it is very improper for any sitting board in the future to start arguing with a member that has been there for 30 years. It doesn't sit well. So this is the dilemma, and we are bringing it to you for your decision. I will turn over to Director Lal for his inputs.
Actually, we agree with you that a person who has been a member for 30 years deserves the honor.
If I meant by actively participating
means whether you're coming in during meetings regularly or whether you've been an officer or a member of a committee, regardless. So we know you deserve to be honored for the 30 years. Now, if we were trying to equate this with membership in a club, let's say polo club, you get a lifetime membership status after so many years because you have been a member. But do you get free meals when you become a lifetime member? You don't. The same way, we are facing a situation today wherein as the senior or the honorary members grow, the burden of subsidizing will go to those who are paying. Now, this is a problem that is not going to ruin the organization today. But when you talk about bylaws and when you prepare for the future, you have to think in advance. If we don't attend to it now and we ignore it, sooner or later you have to wake up and realize this has to be resolved. Now, one of the reasons why we took this up is not because we want to decide for you. It's because we want you to accept and recognize the problem that we will face. Now, we have a middle ground. We think out of the box. And the other option basically would be an honorary member will not have the traditional definition and privilege of free meals, but an honorary member need not pay annual dues and just pay a subsidized rate for the meals. Polo Club charges lifetime members for what they eat. They don't get it free. So let us not limit ourselves to what we have here tonight. Like as Rex said, if you have suggestions, we are open. We are not here to decide for you. All that we are presenting as amendments are concerns that we know exist. Whether they are going to affect us today, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, this is what we need to address. And for me, it's a personal thing that I need to attend to possible concerns that will come up because I've been attending to the bylaws from the start. And as you know, I'm making my exit. I'd like to take up what we have seen as problems and concerns. The decision is all in the body. I hope that explains our stand.
So in short, you're trying to preempt this particular situation.
We are anticipating situations and we would like to already provide for it, provided the body agrees. If the body says let's deal with it when it becomes a major problem, hallelujah, at least we said so.
What I'm trying to understand here is that, is there any indications you have noticed that people are applying for honorary membership? Have there been instances in your particular board where you felt the need has arisen?
Yes. Because our records are not complete. We have to work backwards for 30 years. A simple situation that we encountered in our board in the last 2 years, even our SSS records and payments have been a mess. We need to correct. We have records that are incomplete. We have records that cannot be found. So it's not going to be fair for one to be given the honorary status and the other one we are doubtful because we're still searching. So again, this is what we come up with. If the body rejects it, it's fine with us. If the body has other suggestions, we're open. If the body feels let's deal with it 10 years from now, we're fine with it.
Well, of course, the body will make their own decision and decide.
Of course, that's why we have this tonight.
I'm speaking from a silent majority because
I understand perfectly. I'll be 30 years soon.
Correct. So what I'm trying to get here is that people who have paid attention or who participated, who have been loyal to the chamber, I feel that privilege should not be taken away so fast. Maybe tell them for next 5 years, you don't get extended for longer term. For next 5 years or 10 years, you will be given honorary membership. That's the maximum. That's my suggestion.
We are open.
Lal, please help us. I fully agree with you. But this is exactly the dilemma.
This is what I'm helping you.
Can you give us a mechanism to prove?
I said in 5 years or 10 years, give them from now on.
No.
Again, it's not that my proposal has to be taken into consideration.
Please help us right now. Is there any mechanism you have in your mind on how to prove?
I feel that person who was given devoted his time for 30 years should not be taken away that privilege. That's it. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Mr. Bukli, and I have been honorary member since I was member more than 40 years. In Vishu's time, they gained the privilege of honorary member because in that years, whatever I represented chamber, I have been a vice president, I have been a director, and I have been a committee member. But all in these years, my representative, that's my son today, attended a meeting only once or twice. In other words, I am the principal member, and I am as the principal, I have attended those meetings. Now I would like to know how many honorary members you have at present.
At the moment, we have very few.
Okay.
This does not apply. There's no problem when it comes to individual members. The problem happens for corporate members because the bylaws require continuous 30 years of authorized membership. Authorized representation. We have another option. We have the option of deferring this particular amendment and asking the body to give us recommendations and to submit mechanisms by which we can make the determination for those corporate members. How do we determine continuous 30 years of authorized representation? That is the only problem.
I like to understand that corporate member is a problem, not the regular members.
More or less, because individual members, you are automatically the authorized representative. So you cannot change. So if it's Mr. Sundarmukhi, it's Mr. Sundarmukhi that is the member. But if it is a corporation, the authorized and the alternate members continuously change. That's where the problem comes in, because the bylaws require continuous 30 years authorized representation.
Thank you very much. I understand. I have no objection.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Megajani?
Yes, may I be recognized?
Yes, you're recognized.
First and foremost, I would like to bring up the discussion again we had a while ago regarding the alcohol.
I'm sorry, that is not
I just want to mention because you
Mr. Megajani, I'm sorry, the chair will not entertain that at this point.
Okay.
So you can bring that up at other matters.
Okay.
We are handling amendments right now.
We're discussing the amendment.
We're not talking about alcohol.
Regarding the submission or the application of a member for honorary membership, I would suggest that it has to be taken into good faith. Now, the problem arises because we are now a different juridical entity as a federation. I think the problem arises because of that. There are a lot of members that are members of the chamber and have been continuously and have been turned over to the federation as a member also.
No connection, sir.
And the 30 years is now falling due during the term of the federation. Now, Mr. Lan has brought up the issue of finances. I want to bring it to the attention of everyone else that when the chamber transitioned to a federation, all the assets of the chamber were turned over, including the condo unit and the cash on hand. So if you're worried about subsidizing former chamber members as they mature to, let's say, they reach the 30 years and they will be entitled to, let's say, honorary membership, and you're worried about the meals they will be eating, I would liken this to, let's say, a dad who has worked so hard and all of a sudden his son is going to say, since you gave me a house, I will entitle you to stay in the house and you must pay for your meals. Diba? It's a similar thing. So I hope you guys could enlighten us. I would like to bring this point and this argument here. Let us not forget, we turned over a condo unit, the office space of the Federation right now, and I don't know how many millions of pesos. So we should consider that as if the problem is subsidizing the honorary members, I think that would be sufficient. Thank you.
Thank you. There is really no issue on the subsidizing if the members wish to do so. That's not a problem at all. Food is not the issue. What I am asking for right now is a proposal on how to determine continuous authorized representation of any person for 30 years. Is there anybody in this room that can stand up and give us a recommendation? Mr. Mirani, you recommend.
Hi, good evening. I think I have a proposal. So I agree with what you're saying, that individual members who have been, first of all corporate members and individual members who are already at the honorary will stay. Moving forward, individual members that are turning 30 years, maybe the next 2 years, can be recognized. Like you said, that's based on good faith that we have records. Maybe what we could amend is for corporate members, we can start the 30-year process effective this year, and we can come up with a mechanism to better retain the records. So at least if we start fresh from this year, and if all the members agree and sign to, then it's recorded in the books that all data from 2018 forwards is documented. So there's no question of integrity or there's no favoritism to anyone.
That is an option, that's a proposal, just as I'm sure other members will have proposals as well. In your proposal, I won't be able to enjoy that honorary status anymore. I'm already 69, so plus 30, that means I'll have to be 99.
Mr. Missionary Moody is recognized.
You see, in the next 5 or 10, 15 years, we'll have so many people asking for honorary members. So for every meeting, maybe 20-30% will be honorary members. Now everybody thinks who has worked in the previous boards as president, vice president, corporate secretary, treasurer, everybody thinks I worked hard, I did my part, so I should be given the status of honorary member. So this will increase in numbers. It's really difficult. At this stage, I suggest that we defer this and get suggestions on the criteria and under what basis this should be conferred to the honorary members. Since I think we cannot, this will go on and on and on. Maybe we can defer this until we get suggestions on membership and keep this for some other time.
Okay, thank you, sir. Is there any objection to the proposal to defer?
Any motion?
Any motion?
To defer the discussion further?
We are now entertaining a motion to defer this matter. Uncle Hiro, any seconds? All right, this particular amendment is being deferred.
The next one is
okay. Amendment number 11. Let me categorically state. This amendment refers to our proposal to increase the allowable term for directorship from 2 terms of 3 years each. 2 terms of 2 years each to 3 terms of 2 years each. Let me also categorically state that all members of the present board who are running in this election will not avail of this privilege should this amendment be approved due to conflict of interest. So nobody on this board is going to benefit from the additional term should this be approved. There were a lot of discussions on this matter in the background. A lot of emails went back and forth. Some people said, what happens if you have, I got a call from one past president actually that said, what happens if you have a bad president and he's going to be there for 6 years? My answer was, what happens if you have a good president? Remember, we all have the power of the ballot. And through the power of the ballot, if you have directors that you feel are not qualified, you always have that option not to vote for them. More importantly here is not the issue of any existing president. Our clear objective is to mentor our younger members of the chamber and prepare them for leadership roles in the future. Tell me, how many years do you think a young member of our chamber needs before he or she is ready to become president and lead us? 2 years? 4 years? What's the number? So can you imagine, we are today electing a group of amazing young people. We mentor them, and when they're finally ready to become president, we say, sorry, you need to go. Doesn't make sense, folks. If we continue to look at how, and the history, we continue to look at the very colorful history of our chamber, then certainly there is a reason for concern. But I think the last 2 years has shown that looking forward is way better than continually dwelling on the colorful past. While we rely on the past for their experience and their guidance, I recall stories from my elders as to how exciting meetings used to be once upon a time. But clearly, I think we are now beyond that. I am prepared to believe that the next generation of members who are here with us today, and the more that wish to come, are going to be able to lead us and skyrocket this chamber to levels never achieved. And so please, we sincerely believe that so as not to disillusion these young members who are standing today for election and who have the great possibility to lead us in the future, I humbly request that this amendment be approved.
If I may say something, just to explain, then maybe I'll give the floor to the Vice President to give the floor to you. One of the reasons perhaps that you haven't realized why this board has been able to do this much. The reason behind it is 5 of us. When there are issues and there are discussions, this is to remind me there's always 2 sides to a coin, 2 faces. It's all up to you which one to look at. Because for everything good, there can be
some points that you are saying. But the only thing is too long for any director to run for 3 terms. Because as you say, that you want to give chance to the new youngsters coming in. If the people who have been there for 2 years, 4 years, want to be again for 6 years, how will the other youngsters get a chance to come in?
Let me explain. Okay, go ahead.
Well, if you ask me personally, I think even 2 years is too long.
Yes.
With the amount of work that we've done, really I'm very tired.
Why do you
I
want
don't
to
want to run again. But because we have started separate projects so that we don't want to leave hanging.
4 years is good enough. You don't have to be there for 6 years.
Exactly. But
I'm answering your
there are a
question.
lot of you, they're young people.
That's right.
We
You
want
should give them
we
chance.
want to grow.
Not for 6
We
years.
want them to
4 years is good
experience
enough.
what it's like to be
Ravi, I don't agree. It's up to the members to decide about it.
Absolutely. Everything is always up to
It's
the
too
members
long
to decide.
for anybody to be there in the board.
Perhaps
Sorry.
we can put it to a vote.
So basically what you're saying, you pity the board, the director who will run.
No,
Mr. That's the wrong word.
Mr. Babu, I have a question, if I may. When we start training, let's not talk about those that have been in the board. Let's talk about the new guys that come in. No, when we bring in the new guys.
The same board wants to go for 6 years.
Boss, no.
Next term is going to be how many old are going out? 5.
There are 5 new.
You'll have 5 going out after on the next election.
Okay, so let me just again repeat what I said. The main objective here is for the newcomers. How long do you think a newcomer needs before he is ripe for a presidency? So, yes, Ramesh.
Can I be recognized?
You're recognized, sir.
I clearly endorse and second the opinion of Mr. Sita last Bagu. I'm an example. I was a director for 2 years with Uncle Sundar. And then there was an 8-9 year gap. I ran, I became the president. I think 4 years is enough, really. It gives, there are many youngsters coming in. Not that to point any fingers, but 6 years is very prone to abuse. There could be a lot of collusion. So if the general body cannot agree and put it to a vote, thank you.
May I say one more thing? When we first, as a board, came up with this proposal, because we saw the need for succession, our original proposal at the board level, at the initial discussions was 3 terms as director, and only 2 terms for a president. Meaning, a person comes, let's say for example, one of the young blood comes in as a director. The second year, he becomes vice president. The second term, he becomes vice president. The third term, he becomes president. But even if a person has been there for 3 terms, he cannot be a president for more than 2. The limit was 2 as president, 3 as directors. When we discussed this with our third member in the committee, Mr. Hiren, it was Hiren himself who said, no, why will you prevent a good president from running for a 3rd term? Allow 3 as director and even 3 as president. Am I right, Hiren? I think Hiren has the floor.
Hiren is recognized.
Maybe you recognize, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you're recognized.
I'd like to put it into context, Mr. Chair. At the time, and I would like to be very clear, it was an assumption on my part that this board was going to take the 3rd term, and that was the reason why I was amenable for the amendment. I have emailed the board on this matter now, and I have clearly stated I am not supportive of this amendment anymore because of the email you guys had, Commissioner.
So you're saying that because we have categorically stated that we will not avail of that 3rd term because of conflict of interest, you've changed your mind.
That's right, absolutely.
Which means further that you have limited your choice at that point to only the members of this board.
That's correct.
In future proofing, if I may, sir, in future proofing our chamber, may I humbly suggest that decisions are not made based on personalities of who are occupying the seats at any given time. But let us look at this from a 10 or 20-year perspective.
Absolutely.
I draw your attention to the Federation of Chinese Chambers of Commerce and the people that are on the board there and their term limits and how they are trained. If you are aware, the vice president of the Chinese Chamber is the automatic president in the next year, in the next term. So there has got to be a way for a chamber to carefully look at succession planning and to remove the randomness of elections if you keep on changing every 2 terms. So I go back to our earlier statement. I think this matter, is there any other comment that any other person that would like to be recognized? Sorry, sir, you'd like to finish?
Sure, yeah. I'd just like to add, the reason that I had not supported this amendment, just to add to your point, I absolutely agree, is that I feel this amendment, as I already mentioned, will not be used until 4 years from now. It will not be effective whatsoever. So we can think about this down the line if workable, or we can take it to a vote. That was the reason.
Thank you. Anybody else? 1 second. Anybody else? All right, Mr. Vengrajani, you're the last person to be recognized on this issue.
Okay. I'd like to make mention only, I'd like to remind everyone that after 2 terms, the president is automatically a member of the next board as the immediate past president. Because if the problem is mentoring, then that could continue in that capacity. Then another thing I would like to mention that after the term of Mr. Sitaldas, Lal continued to mentor our board on his knowledge on the bylaws. And despite the fact that he was not an immediate past president, we would always count on him for his wise counsel on the amendments of the bylaws and understanding everything. So, another good example is our charities, our ICANNs, and so on and so forth. A lot of these projects are continuous regardless of who the head of the committee is. It can go on. It doesn't have to be, you don't need to have 3 terms for that. So that's all.
Noted, sir. Is there anybody else who would like to discuss this topic? All right, before we divide the House on this matter, we would once again appeal to the members to hopefully accept the proposal of the Board of Directors, since we have carefully studied this matter and therefore support this particular amendment. May I now ask?
May I add, since the board's original proposal, before we took it up with the committee, which included Mr. Herrera, was 2 terms for a president and 3 for director, I would personally recommend going back to the original. So at least, as far as position of president is concerned, it's only for 2 terms, not for 3.
So we can perhaps do this. First, we will do a 2-step process. We will first vote on whether or not the proposed amendment is approved. If it is not approved, then it's over. If it is approved, we will then come back to you and ask you if you will allow the president to run for 3 terms or limit him to 2 terms. Is that okay? Is that all right? So, we'd like to put a vote. May we request all those who object to the current provision that is being discussed to please stand. It's easier to count the dissenters than those voting in the affirmative. 1, 2, Mr. Babu, 3.
For 3 years?
No, you are the ones objecting to the amendment. You are the ones objecting. So we have 3 people objecting, 4 objecting. All right, vote is carried and then it is approved. Thank you very much. Now, would you like, therefore, now, and we are recommending that any member of the board be allowed to go for 3 terms. Lal had a suggestion here that you can qualify that the president is limited to 2 terms. So to make voting easy, if you stay seated, then that means you are in favor of 3 terms for the president. And if you stand up, you are in favor of only 2 terms for the president. So those in favor.
3 for director.
And 3 for director. So, no, sorry. The 3 terms for directors are already approved. The issue now left is the presidency. So again, if you stand up, then president only serves for 2 terms. May we please request a vote?
Stand up 2 terms. Stand up.
2 terms is standing up. Seated is 3 terms. Kailan mo yung request to come?
President.
May I request those at the back to take your seats so that we can accurately count those that are standing and sitting down.
Okay, so Hiren, would you like to say something because we're voting on it?
Mr. Point of information. I'd like to clarify the matter. I do not believe we are allowed to amend the provision in this sense. What is
Sorry, I don't understand your question.
Yeah. Are we allowed to amend the provision that had already been circulated?
The recommendation in writing that was approved by the board of directors was for the president to also be allowed for 3 terms.
Right.
The supreme body in any chamber is the general membership. The general membership is here. And I do not subscribe to the fact that the general membership who is present, and you have 50% plus 1 that is present of the membership, can be stopped from doing anything. So if I may please proceed, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, just on the point of going back to the specific provision of the bylaw amendment, it clearly states that it must be circularized 30 days in advance. So I do not believe.
So therefore, what you are saying, Mr. Hiren, is that we can no longer entertain the suggestion of law.
That's my understanding, sir. I would like to get a ruling from the board on the matter.
So based on that, may I ask our legal counsel to tell us if Mr. Hiren is correct that since that the general membership is not allowed to edit a proposed amendment. May you please be seated first.
Mr. Chair, just an opinion. This matter, I think, falls into what you might call a gray area, because if you ask on this topic, what is the matter at issue? The matter at issue refers to the number of terms by which a president can hold office. So for that purpose, I think the issue has been circularized. We're not adding a new matter. It would be different if, for example, an amendment will be introduced outside these areas. Okay. So what I'm saying is that you can argue this board can argue that if we're just dealing with the detail of whether it's 2 terms or 3 terms, that the issue has been circularized. Okay. So for purposes of meeting that requirement, I think there's an argument that requirement is met. What you might need to do, however, would be to get the board of directors to approve should the membership decide to accept the change from 3 terms to 2 terms. You need to satisfy the other requirement in the bylaws, which is to require the board of directors to effectively confirm what this body decides. Because under the corporation code, the requirement is for both the board and the membership to vote. That is an area it's really an issue of interpretation. It's not clear cut, but that is an opinion that I think can be supported. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, sir. Bishop, please, sir.
The proposal here is 2 terms or 3 terms for the entire board.
No, sir. That's already been approved. The
No.
issue here is 2 terms or 3 terms for the president.
No, the one which was circularized.
No, sir. What we circularized was 3 terms for the entire board, whether you're president or not. Okay? The concept of 3 terms has already been approved. Mr. Lam introduced a revision to let the members decide that to choose whether a president can be president for 3 terms or for 2 terms. The board has approved and recommended 3 terms, but the general membership may edit that at this point, which will be subject to board approval immediately after this meeting.
But the general membership was not advised 30 days prior regarding this presidency for 2 terms or 3 terms. That's why I propose we put it to a vote, the entire board to run for 2 terms or 3 terms. Anyway, the decision to appoint the president is on the directors, and the members don't choose the president. The president is chosen by the directors themselves. So I really propose we just put it to vote whether the entire board will be for 2 terms or 3 terms, and let the membership decide. This is only my proposal.
Sir, technically that has already been passed with the vote we just called earlier. So we will no longer entertain, therefore, the suggestion of Director Lam limiting the presidency to 2 years. To 2 terms, I'm sorry. Yes, Attorney Albert, and followed by you, sir.
In the interest of giving due respect to different views, the fact that this will be amended will not keep the board and the membership to entertain further amendments at some point, so that if there's a desire to limit the term of the presidency, further amendments can be proposed and carried out later on.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
What been
I'd like to be introduced as Mr. Pirkudal. I want to thank the board, present board, for speaking here. My point is, what we are talking here is for the board of directors. We are asking if the board of directors can sit for 3 consecutive terms. So we voted at ease for the board to sit as a 3 consecutive terms. And we are not on the term of allowing or in the jurisdiction if who will be the president or not. So the question of who will be the president or not is mute and untenable at this time. Because regarding the presidency is with the board. If the board decided or have a rule by itself that they cannot have a president to be seated in the 2 consecutive terms, so it would be ruling for the board of directors that a president should not sit for 2 consecutive terms. But we are speaking here of the board of directors. I want to be clearly.
Yes, sir.
We are not here to argue whether the president should sit 2 or 3 terms.
Yes, sir. In effect, sir, what you are saying is you would defer to the collective wisdom of the board of directors who are truly elected.
It should be another discussion if whether the board will have 2 or can, if the board decided they can have a person, the person to sit as a 3-time president of the board.
Okay, sir.
It's between not us, but the middle.
I fully agree with you, sir. Thank you very much. Kiran?
Point of order, Mr. Chair. Again, I'd like to bring up the amendments clause. It's very clear. The bylaws may be amended or repealed by the majority vote of the total members of the federation. The vote that you had done previously was voting those in the negative, so you have not yet ascertained the majority vote to go ahead with the amendment. As such, I would...
So you would like to be technical and ask me to ask everybody to stand up?
Absolutely, sir.
Is there a provision in the rules that say that the chair is not able to do that?
To do what, sir?
To allow the negatives to stand up?
No, but it's very clear that you need a majority vote.
Exactly. I said those sitting will be an affirmative vote.
Sir, we need to have that counted. That's very clear. It's voting.
We know our numbers of those that are here, the warm bodies.
Yes.
We have fulfilled the requirement of the warm bodies,
yes,
that we are indeed 50% plus 1.
Okay.
I have asked those that are objecting to the amendment to stand up. I think we have already further satisfied the requirement of the bylaws. I once again defer to our legal counsel.
I think in the interest of satisfying the concern here, I think you would like to have a count. I don't think it would be necessary to repeat the process, but I think in the interest of serving, perhaps you can run through the numbers so that we're satisfied that, in fact, the numbers have been met. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, can we also find out what is counted as majority vote? If we have 183 members. Thank you, sir.
One second.
I mentioned earlier that we have a total of 173 active members, and we have 10 honorary and past presidents for a total of 183. Divided by 2 plus 1 comes out to 93.
Right, sir. So we need both of 93 members to amend.
Yes, but you must also realize that many have already left the meeting.
Precisely,
so
sir.
We're basing it on the registration. So
precisely, sir. The amendments law is very clear on this point. There needs to be a vote, and the vote has to be counted to the majority, which in this case has to be 93. There may be individuals who abstain. We don't know. So I would like to
also, there are many here. There are many here in the room who are alternate representatives of the same company. So there may be a risk of
I agree, sir.
yeah. So
I believe that's part of the board's duty to ensure that
those who vote.
So I think the way of counting those dissenting to the proposal would be a more accurate way of doing it.
Unfortunately, sir, it doesn't comply with the amendments clause. I think that's
Yes, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. As an outsider, I represent my father, who's a member of the board. Who's a member of the chamber. I just want to suggest, for unity's sake, for everyone, for the third term which the board is seeking, may I just request, instead of 13 members, that all members be a part of the vote, and whoever the 13, 11 or 12 or 13 wins, be a part.
Sir, I'm sorry, but that's not the issue at all. The board is not seeking a third term. Okay, that is not the issue that is being discussed. What we are discussing is whether or not in the future, whether the board of directors may run.
Okay, I'm just wishing well for everyone. I want unity with everyone. That's
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Attorney Albert?
Just a comment regarding procedure for voting. Some bylaws at the Indian chambers will be very specific as to the manner of voting. Some bylaws would say viva voce, meaning showing of hands. Some would require secret balloting. But under the bylaws of the Indian chamber, I don't think there's a rule that prescribes the manner of voting. And therefore, under those circumstances, the chair would have some leeway to define the manner of voting. Okay? I think it's been laid out that there was a manner or procedure prescribed, which is to count by way of those who are objecting. Meaning that if you choose to remain seated, the assumption as laid out by the chair is for those seated persons to be counted as voting in favor. Okay? The point of whether an abstention is required or not is not written in the bylaws. In the elections, to borrow the example of national elections, it's either you write your name or you leave it blank for abstention. But some voting would require check marks. So in this particular example, I think the procedure was clearly explained prior to the counting, and the process was, if you object to it, you stand. If you accept or vote affirmatively, you sit. Therefore, if you had chosen to object or to abstain, the assumption is that you would have stood up. And I think that's a clear process. Now, to the point about confirming that there's a majority, I think the body probably does deserve the actual counting. And perhaps that can be done by looking at the membership, because as far as counting attendance is concerned, you have the membership roster as the controlling document. And you cannot reverse the clock at this point. There was a vote properly cast, and I think for purposes of the procedure, I think it was properly laid. And if there are questions, to question the number of votes cast in favor of supporting the amendments, I think the burden is on those people or parties questioning the matter. I hope that's not what you said.
Thank you, Attorney. Noted. We feel that we have substantially complied as far as this amendment is concerned. For those that are questioning, you may refer to Ella, our our executive director on the records on attendance, who would be happy to provide you that information after this.
Sure, I agree.
Yes, Mr.
Sure, I appeal the ruling of the chair on this matter. I believe it's very clear, sir. A majority vote is required, and I feel that it's deserving that the individual members here who truly want to amend these bylaws, their vote is counted for the amendment. And a majority vote should be counted if you really have 93 individuals in the hall who will vote for the affirmative on the amendment. I don't think it's that difficult unless you feel it to be so, but the amendments clause is clear at this point.
Thank you. We'll suspend for 5 minutes. It's like a consultant legal, if you don't mind. is that you participated in that vote by standing up and objecting to it.
Because sir,
you're not recognized. One second, let me finish. And so you participated in that vote, right? And now, clearly, since some people have left, now, hold it, you are now asking for warm bodies. You're absolutely correct. And we are also not going to give certain personalities a chance to have a fiesta. So therefore, these items that have been carved out will be deferred. But know one thing, that the chamber will spend another 200,000 on this. And that's on your shoulders. Thank you.
May I be recognized?
Yes, you're recognized.
So Chairman, when I heard you ask for those in the negative, I was expecting you to ask for those in the positive.
I mean, I made my rules clear.
Sir, actually, to be very frank, the rules were not clear. In fact, we did not know the number that constituted the majority. I wanted to come to the mic when you had already started the voting process. And I thought this is the only opportunity I could take.
The number was announced at the start of the meeting and then updated thereafter.
Yes, sir.
And I think that was very clear.
Yes, sir.
And during the elections, the warm bodies were there.
Yes, sir. Yes.
And at the start of the discussions of the amendments, I was observing, and we had enough warm bodies. But after that, at this point, a lot had left. Admittedly, they left. And you are right. As far as the bylaws are concerned, you're right. But the option that we have on the table now is to defer the matter of the terms of the three. For the 4 items, or just only for the three consecutive terms. The previous one was already addressed that it will be deferred.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there's nothing to worry about.
Yes, sir.
You propose, and I think Rex is in agreement that we have to face the expense of another 200,000 to resolve this.
Mr. I'd just like to point out there was no bad faith whatsoever on my part.
May I, Mr. Hiren?
Yes, sir.
For the knowledge of the general membership, you are a member of the Committee on the Bylaws.
Yes, sir.
From day one, you have opposed any amendments to the bylaws.
Excuse me.
No, I have received an email from him.
Yes, Mr.
Saying that he's not in favor of any amendments of the bylaws.
Yes, sir.
So clearly, emails have also been sent
Yes,
to some
sir.
past presidents who try to stop the amendments, which is fine. I mean, you are within that prerogative.
Yes, sir.
But I think they should be disclosed.
Absolutely.
Right? So you have been against it from day one, and let the general body just take note of that. So we will call another meeting. We will spend another 200,000 of your money in order to pass the 4 amendments. But we will certainly call that meeting. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized?
Yes, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, to clarify, yes, in onset, I mentioned I felt no amendments really, and by onset I mean more than a year ago. I worked closely with Chairman Lal Chatani and Committee Member Harish Mercury, and I have also sent an email to the board saying I am supportive of the 27 other amendments after we had gone to deliberations, and I only wanted to deliberate the 4 which I had brought to. I would like to make that clear, sir.
Noted, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would the party want to be clarified on the rationale of the remaining amendments, or do we take it up at the next meeting?
We'd rather take that up at the next meeting, which we will call for that purpose. Those amendments that were not carved out are approved in the absence of any objections. We now move to other matters. Is there any
If I may add, if any member wishes to propose amendments, since we will be having another meeting, please feel free to submit proposals so that at least you will know that we are sincere in our efforts.
This is a learning experience. Next time we will have the amendments first to make sure that we do it before the dinner so that everybody is here. Any other matters that would like to be discussed in other matters? May I request the gentleman over there, Mr. Ramesh, we're having a meeting. 1 second. Any items on other matters that would like to be taken up? Okay. May we now call the Comelec chairman? 5 minutes. Okay, so we will suspend until Comelec is able to come up with the results. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, we will now be announcing the
Before the Comelec announces the winners, I'd like to have everybody's indulgence. Give me a few minutes. A month from now, I will no longer be part of this board. A month from now, I have finished 9 years as a director with the chamber. And I would like to say that this board has started off with a few principles in mind. Number one, we have been sincere in everything that we've done. Sincere with our efforts, sincere with our motives, with our passion. Second, we have been selfless. We have not done anything that is for our self-interest. Third, we have been fully transparent. And fourth, which I would like to say, maybe if others would like to listen to my last few words, is that we have been human as well. During this term, we have had admittedly a lot of successes, but along the way, there are oversights, there are limitations, and there are mistakes. As I said, we are all human. Now, we have a set of bylaws that's very legal, okay, in all aspects. But then we also have to establish the fact that in life, if it's all about legalities, sometimes you will end up with obstacles that cannot be resolved with just addressing legalities. You have to look at the intent behind it. What I'd like to just say today is that we've done our best. We cannot possibly satisfy everybody. And it's been a very good 2 years. Cheers to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Now I'd like to call on Mr. Carney, our Comelec chair, to please announce the election results. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raj. As a Comelec chair, I would like to report to the body that the Secretariat distributed total of 99 ballots today, and all the ballots were casted, and we have the record,
and 99 ballots. All the records came from the canvassing of 99 ballots. The long awaited time is over. We have final tally, and I will ask our secretariat to put on the screen because it's all in our Excel sheet. Can you make it a little bigger, but can it fit all in the list? Can members see all those? How about number 11, 12, 13? Please give us a few seconds. They are trying to fix the problem. Can I have the list? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Okay, dear friends, I'm going to announce the final, but it's not into highest to lowest voting because I have the list with alphabetically for each member. Biryani Rex, total votes gathered is 89. Daswani number 66. Idnani Babu, 41. Jumazi Mino, 68. Jaswani Kamlesh Ken, 62. Mehtani Manish, 76. Manjani Jeevan, 71. Mirani Roshan Ricky, 78. Mirpuri Harish, 79. Mirpuri Mahesh, 82. Santani Ravi, 85. Softi Japsi, 65. Suznani Manesh, 75. Now, can we go to the list and the top 11 who meet in this list? Those are the one will be informally informed the official Commonwealth results. So the top 11 are the one who has made in the magic list. So on behalf of Commonwealth, I will congratulate them. Can you please put? Okay. So up to Softy Jobsi 65, they are the one in the new magic list. Those will be the future directors. This is an informal results. We will announce official results after 3 days. If there will be no protest from any member, then we will send you by email the public official results. So as this moment, this is common informal results. So you can see, congratulations to all the 11 members who made in this Magic 11, and hope that the one who hasn't made it this time, they will not get discouraged and they can always run in the future. There is a bright future, they are good kids and they are good nice. So I am sure they have more future to come forward in the future elections. On behalf of Commonwealth, I would like to thank you all the Commonwealth deputies, Commonwealth past president members,